And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Street Podcast on Steel's Meet. Taylor Phillips, along with special guest Louis Tenor. Ed Smith and Frank Vagner are out. So is Darren Weiss, which really depresses me, but I'll carry on the best I can. There's Vasu. There we go. There's Vasu. All right, let's just get started here. Got some Pistons and Lions, Tigers and Red Wings to talk about. First off, this show is sponsored by the Viget Sports mobile app, where great fans cover. Sign up with the referral code STABLES. Today is Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. So first topic, the Pistons win the 2021 NBA Draft Lottery. Cade Cunningham is pretty much a lock. He's a point guard, shooting guard from Oklahoma State, the Cowboys. And the Pistons are the only team that Cade Cunningham has visited as of right now thus far. So, Vaso, we'll go to you, and then we'll go to Louis. Pistons won the NBA Draft Lottery for the first time in franchise history, and that's got to be a really good feeling for me and Pistons fans everywhere. Now, Cade Cunningham, he appears to be the top pick. So, Vaso, you go first. You go right ahead.
Taylor, good to be with you. Sorry about my selfie camera. I'm not on my computer. I dropped the phone a long time ago, and I never got the selfie part of it fixed. So this is why it's all dark. Plus, I'm in a bar, too, so watching sports. So at least I'm keeping up on all the sports here. I'm watching the basketball right now. But, the Pistons got the number one pick. Surprisingly, a little bit. Ben Wallace in his Hall of Fame year got a little good luck for the Pistons, and they're going to get the number one pick. Cade Cunningham seems like the overall top choice, but I got to think that I like Jalen Suggs a lot from Gonzaga too. So I don't know where he fits in terms of plans for the NBA draft. The only problem I see with Cade Cunningham, there's not very many problems with Cade Cunningham. The only thing I see is he's an on-the-ball guy. He's always got to have the ball in his hands, and I don't know how well that's going to work in a Pistons offense. I know Dwayne Casey likes to have ball movement, likes to pass the ball around, and likes to get his guys in good position. So I don't know if that's going to work or what they're going to do with a guy like Cade Cunningham. He may take a year. He's only 19 years old. He may take a year where it may take a little time to develop in the offense. But for the most part, that's how college kids are coming out now. They're coming out at 19, 20 years old. So it's not like the total impact. Like, I like Devion Mitchell from Baylor a lot, but he's not a number one pick, and he's a short guard. But he can play defense, and he's a ball hawk, and he can run an offense like nobody's business. And I think with the maturity, it's probably something like that. But it seems to be that Cade Cunningham is the number one pick right now. But we got a long way to go, and there still could be trade possibilities, Taylor.
Yeah, but really, you possibly can't pass up that number one overall pick. You got to have somebody here, like the number one overall pick. Cade Cunningham, I know he's not really a ball movement type of guy. He's like on the ball, but there's got to be some way to develop him in some way, shape, or form. So, Louis, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, but the guy that took between two, I think along with Suggs, the performance at Zaga, of course, was phenomenal this year. And, although just coming out one game short of the championship, but, why wait for Cunningham who's going to sit out a year, waste that? I think maybe, you go with Suggs. I mean, because I think that's going to guarantee maybe better results for the Pistons, because they've been on a downward spiral for quite some time now. And I think maybe they can use his power to help the Pistons right there. So, but it's their loss if they decide to win Cunningham for a year. I don't know if it's going to help. So I think I go with, I think more as a surefire bet for Suggs. But like your partner said, he's got a long way to go, so anything can happen. But if I were a betting man, I would choose Jalen Suggs.
All right. So, Pistons forward Jerami Grant, by the way, has committed to playing for Team USA. So there's that. So Let me look at our conversation, my conversation with my other co-hosts, Ed, Frank, and Darren. Well, you got, if you add Cade Cunningham, then you'll have him, Killian Hayes, Sadiq Bey, Jerami Grant, and Isaiah Stewart. That's the starting five that Ed Smith was looking at. And also Josh Jackson and Seiko Dumboya as bench players. If you look at the depth chart this way early on, pending the mock draft, all eyes are on Cade Cunningham to the Pistons. I think it's a lock, barring any surprising trades. So, anyone want to take a stab?
I think you're right. I think Cade Cunningham is the number one overall pick. He clearly was the best player in college basketball. They had a rough going. He didn't have a lot of support when he got to the Sweet 16, and they just faced better teams. And they're double teaming and triple teaming him. And so if you take that out of the equation, it's not going to happen in college. If he gets a year to develop and the Pistons improve their roster a little bit, I love Jerami Grant. I think Jerami Grant was a good fit for them and for Dwayne Casey, but they got to get some surrounding pieces to him to be able to score. They can score, but they got to find some defensive pieces too, because on my show that talks about the wagering side, they were always going over the total because they were giving up a lot of points. Mostly, I don't think they were scoring their share of points, but they were certainly giving up a lot of points, especially in the second half of the season. And then I don't know if Jerami Grant was healthy toward the end, or they were just sitting him toward the end just to kind of give him a break because he was doing a lot of the legwork for the Pistons for the year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Lewis, anything to add?
Well, I think maybe they were just going to sell Grant for the rest of the year, just to work on it. But it wouldn't matter because they weren't going anywhere anyway, because they were just, it's been another atrocious season for the Pistons. But you think they would benefit though from Cunningham staying out of here? I don't know if it's going to help much. So I hate to disagree with you, but I'm still going to go with what I had thought, and just go with Suggs. Go with someone that is going to help your team year. Why wait a year? Then I think you just wasted it.
All right. So that's Pistons. Now to some Lions. Calvin Megatron Johnson speaks on the Lions hanging on to him. This is from an article from CBS Sports' Patrick Walker, CBSSports.com, headlining Calvin Johnson wanted to finish the Hall of Fame elsewhere, but the Lions blocked it. They wouldn't let me go, quote unquote. If it feels like the football world was robbed of more years of watching Calvin Johnson manhandle defensive backs, that's because it sort of was. The four-time All-Pro receiver hung up his cleats for good in 2016, formally announcing his retirement from the NFL that March following his 9th year in the league. Just 9 years. It appears that wasn't his first decision, as often speculated, and his career instead followed a similar arc as another Detroit Lions legend, Hall of Fame running back Barry Sanders. As it turns out, Johnson wasn't actually done playing football. After racking up 11,619 receiving yards and 83 touchdowns, including 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, 7 overall, despite a very lean and discombobulated decade with the Lions, Johnson was simply done playing football in Detroit. He told Woodward Sports, quote, "We asked would they release me or let me go to another team. They wouldn't," unquote. The ending to Megatron's story is much different than that of Matthew Stafford, his former quarterback, who also recently came to the conclusion it was time to move on from the Motor City. Stafford wasn't met with contention from the team's brass, however, and ultimately got his wish in a trade that sent him to the Los Angeles Rams for quarterback Jared Goff in exchange for a blockbuster package that included Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks. It's something that didn't go unnoticed by Johnson, whose situation wasn't much different, if at all. You know what? He said, quote, you know what? It sucked that they didn't let me go, but they let Matthew Stafford go. But hey, you know, it is what it is, unquote. Don't misconstrue this as any type of angst towards Stafford, though. It's aimed squarely at the Lions. Eventually, Sanders and the Lions buried his respective hatchet, and he has become one of the team's most prominent ambassadors, but that's not happened just yet with Johnson. There's also no guarantee it'll ever happen, and it appears more on the team being unwilling to mend fences than it is Johnson holding a grudge. Still maintaining a good relationship with players who spend time with the Lions, there's still a very noticeable canyon between the two sides. Now, to recap here as we go to Vasu and Lewis, this is all solely on the Lions, of course, just because they felt like they desperately needed Calvin to help them push for a playoff spot at least year after year, just like they desperately needed Stafford to help them push them to a playoff spot. But unfortunately for them, the Lions never won a playoff game. The last time they did so, the last time they won a playoff game was back in the 1991-1992 season. That's been their only playoff win in 64 years. So, Vasu, take a stab at it.
Well, I mean, Calvin Johnson was a great player with the Lions. There's no doubt about it. He's probably the best wide receiver they've had, at least the years that I remember. And I watched the Lions in the 80s, the early 80s and the mid 80s, and they had some players there, but they weren't a very good team. And Calvin Johnson got frustrated. Barry Sanders got frustrated. He retired because that was the only way he was going to be able to not be on the Lions active roster, because they still had his rights. It's different now a little bit with players' rights in terms of the collective bargaining agreement. But Barry Sanders just flat out retired. He didn't want to play because he got tired of losing. And Calvin Johnson had the same issue. I mean, there were teams that were interested. Who wouldn't want to be interested in Calvin Johnson, Taylor? For crying out loud. I mean, he's Megatron I'm a Chicago Bears fan. I would love to have had him on the Chicago Bears. I mean, I don't know who would have thrown the ball to him, but I would have loved to have him on the Chicago Bears team from that standpoint. But they just didn't let him go. They didn't let his rights go, and it cost him a player for 3 or 4 more years in that organization. And as far as Matthew Stafford goes, I'm really surprised that they did trade him. They did get a haul back for Matthew Stafford, which is surprising that they were going to let him go, because I guess they're going to try and rebuild with Jared Goff, and they also got a haul back. So maybe they're going to try and do some players, new coach coming in, and they're going to try and turn things around that way. But from the standpoint of letting 2 really, really good, talented players go, 3, if you include Barry Sanders 20 years ago, that's just the way Detroit operates right now. And until they start winning, I mean, I don't think they're primed for an NFC North division anytime soon.
No. Lewis, do you have any other different team than the Chicago Bears?
Well, I was just on my side, like maybe the Jets and the Cowboys, but I think it's probably going to be a long shot. I mean, Detroit at least hasn't done anything.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me clarify that. I wished he had come to the Bears. They were never in the mix for trading for him.
Okay.
I'm a Bears fan, and I would have loved to have him.
So my brother.
The Bears.
So yeah, but it'd be nice to get a top-notch player, like over to the Jets, because they can really use it. Because like your Lions, our Jets have suffered for many years too, and we need a good style player. Especially we need somebody more on defense. Our offense is fine, but our defense just completely sucks. And I mean that sincerely though. I mean it sincerely, but when you're not happy though with your team, and you're just losing year after year, a time has come to make a change, and to boost up your career, because you're just gonna play in a same sagging losing team. It's not good. It's not gonna do you any good. I can speak for myself after being a long-suffering Jets fan as well. So hopefully Megatron will find a home soon. And if anybody wants to come to Dallas, I'd be fine with that too.
Right. Any team but the Lions, I guess.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So the Lions, speaking of which, they hired their first ever mental skills specialist clinician, Dr. Michelle Garvin from Maryland. She'll be their first ever mental skills specialist. Also, Mike Martin from the Carolina Panthers scouting department will be the Lions director of scouting advancement. Don Corzine as senior advisor, and Jordan Martin promoted to area scout. So that's Lions. Just thought I'd throw that update out there. Now to some Tigers. Right now, they're in fourth place by a half game over the Minnesota T-S Air Twins. Urinating Tree would call them the T-S because there's a win in the middle.
Yeah.
Kind of like Urinating Tree calls Edwin Diaz Ed Lose Diaz. Used to be a very awful closer for the New York Mets.
Oh, yeah.
I watch Urinating Tree's videos all the time, but for the Tigers, 32-42, 432 winning percentage, 12 games back of first place, a weak American League Central Division. Of course, the White Sox leading it at 44-30, 595 winning percentage. That is weak. Yeah. The Twins, 31-42. Well, the Astros lead the Orioles 13-0. Oh, let's see here. Did the Twins have off today? Yes, they did. So
Wednesday? Wow.
The last couple of days. So there was a 2-game series, and so there's 2 games. There's only 26 teams playing tonight. The Cubs and Indians were off today, and the Twins and Reds are off today. I watched the Twins and Reds play yesterday on MLB Network, but the Tigers. I was watching baseball this morning, Taylor, and I was watching the Phillies and Washington game, and they put a note up there that Jonathan Scope has 10 home runs for the month of June, where he only had 5 for April and May. So quite a year for Jonathan Scope, the versatile middle infielder / first baseman / third baseman / shortstop, second baseman. I mean, I knew he could hit. His glove was always questionable, but he's kind of found a home in Detroit right now, because that's not an easy park to hit home runs. And if you got 10 home runs in a month, you're doing something right. And they're not as bad as the Minnesota Twins, because the Minnesota Twins throw the ball all over the infield. They are not a good defensive team, and that showed up yesterday in their game against the Reds. And so it's just brutal to watch the Twins, because they thought they were going to compete after last year with the White Sox and Indians. Nobody's going to beat the White Sox in that division this year. The Indians are I don't think the Indians just have it, although Aaron Savali is a pretty good. He's turned out to be a great pitcher for the Indians. He's 11-2, leads the American League in wins right now, and so actually leads baseball in wins right now. So he pitched well. He beat the Cubs the other night in Wrigley. Not easy to do, especially with that lackluster offense that they have in Cleveland. But I just got a feeling, even with Tony La Russa making mistakes, that the White Sox are going to end up winning that division, and they might end up getting a first round exit. But because they don't have any bullpen right now, until you get to Hendricks, their middle relief is not very good, because it showed up yesterday in a bad way against the Pirates after they got the lead later in the middle of the later innings.
Yeah, the Tigers have a very bad defense as well. Like, each infielder has committed like at least 5 to 7 errors. Nico Goodrum, I thought, should have committed officially 11 instead of 7. Nico Goodrum cannot pick the ball cleanly. He can't hit smart. And the Tigers promote him for bobblehead night 2 nights from now, this Friday.
Oh, come on.
Chris Ilitch coddles like every player that sucks, every figure that sucks. Whether it's the general manager Al Avila, or like Don Kelly, or who used to play for them, like Brandon Inge, who committed too many errors for the Tigers before he was traded or released, actually, in 2012. Man, that's just how inept the Ilitches are, starting at the top. So
the only good thing about the team right now is Matthew Boyd, and for the last 3 years he's been on the trade block, and I'm not sure if and when they're ever going to trade him. But Matthew Boyd, with a good defense, could have a few more wins there.
Well, his last start was shutout, but his previous 4 were not very good, actually. One bright spot that I like to point out, Casey Mize. He's been delivering as of late. Tarek Skubal has been striking at collecting a lot of strikeouts, and Eric Haas has a high OPS.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I voted him for Matt Manning. He got his first major league win today in a 6-2 win over the St. Louis Cardinals. Tigers make a 2-game sweep. Complete a 2-game sweep over those Cardinals. They won last night 8-2. Matt Manning, 5 2/3 innings, only 2 runs. Gave up both runs, but still earned the win. somehow. The bullpen held the Cardinals off the board for the rest of the game. So the Tigers play the best team in baseball right now, the Houston Astros, the team with the best record right now, the Houston Astros, in a 4-game set. Urena starts tomorrow. Jose Urena, he's been awful. And then we got Wiley Peralta on Friday at 7:10. Then you got Casey Mize against Lance McCullers Jr. on Saturday at 4:10. And then at 1:10, Tarek Skubal against Jake Odorizzi. Really, really good starting pitching matchups on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Wiley Peralta will take on Framber Valdez. I never heard of him, but he's got a 1.67 ERA and a 0.99 WHIP. That is a starting pitching. Those are starting pitching stats right there.
That's good.
And Valdez is 4-0. So the Houston Astros are going to be a really challenging test for the Tigers this weekend. And then the Tigers head to Cleveland Monday through Wednesday next week. All games at 7:10 at Progressive Field. So, Vasu, what do you see in that Tigers-Astros matchup? I think Vasu's frozen here. But anyway, yeah, looks like Vasu told me off the air he was going to last for only 20 minutes. So why don't we just move on? I think the Astros are going to sweep the Tigers in 4 games unless the Tigers are lucky enough to salvage a game like they did in Anaheim, by the way, in 10 innings.
Yes. Well, I'll say one thing. Sunday's match, I think you can forget about that because, that pitch they have on the Astros, or I could call them the cheaters, we're going to call it, that's going to be a very tough match to follow, and I don't see the Tigers matching up to that. If they do, I think maybe they'll do it in one of the first 2 games, either Thursday or Friday. They have an easier time with that matchup. But if you have a crappy bullpen, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, if your bullpen's not good, you're not going to be able to last, through much, the 9 innings. You got to get your bullpen together if you want to stay in contention at all during the game, or else you're going to fall flat, and it's going to be an embarrassment. Luckily, you're only 32 and 42 this year, which is decent compared to recent seasons, because in recent times at this time in the season they didn't, I think, won even like 30 games yet. So at least they're improving. They're still below 500, but at least they're heading in somewhat more positive direction.
Yep, they've made a little bit of progress with new manager AJ Hinch, haven't they?
And the no-hitter back at last month.
Yeah, Spencer Turnbull in May. Yes. Yeah, he still has yet to come off the injured list.
Yeah.
Still no word on him. But
wow.
Yeah, Matt Boyd and Alex Lang. Speaking of Matt Boyd, both Boyd and Lang are on the 10-day IL. Boyd with left arm discomfort. Alex Lang with right shoulder discomfort, like I mentioned last week. So I think that's pretty much it for Tigers. Now to the other article mentioning the Red Wings. From Ansar Khan of M Live, longtime Red Wings Darren Helm and Valterri Fillpula forwards face uncertain futures. The only players from the Detroit Red Wings' most recent Stanley Cup championship team who played in the NHL this season face an uncertain future. Darren Helm and Valterri Fillpula had played a combined 1,335 games for the Red Wings, but might have appeared in their final game for the organization. Fillpula, at 37 of age, almost surely won't be resigned, so he'll probably walk. Yeah. It remains to be seen whether Helm, at age 34, will be offered another contract. Helm said late in the season that he wants to continue playing. He spent most of the season on an energy line with Luke Glendening and Adam Ernie, the club's most consistent and effective combination. Glendening, an unrestricted free agent, seems likely to resign with the only NHL club he has known, the Detroit Red Wings, that is. Ernie, a restricted free agent who experienced his best season, 11 goals, 9 assists, 20 points total, likely will be signed to a multi-year deal. Yes, please keep him. He provides at least a little bit of offense. He doesn't possess. The Red Wings might swap out Helm for a younger player like Giovanni Smith. He doesn't possess Helm's speed or checking ability, but brings a different dimension with his physical play and net presence. Smith no longer is waiver exempt in 2021 to 2022. That's next season. So he'll be on the Red Wings roster. Helm had 3 goals and 5 assists in 47 games and remained a regular in the lineup after it appeared at the start of the 2019-2020 season that his role would be diminished. Fillpula returned to the Red Wings in 2019 after 5 seasons with the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the New York Islanders. He didn't pan out in his second stint in Detroit, posting a -42 rating. Scorching painful in 2019 to 2020, and being a healthy scratch in 14 consecutive games from March 2nd to April 1st. Yeah, he gone. But injuries provided an opportunity over the final 5 weeks, and Fillpula took advantage with 4 goals and 10 points in 17 games. Not bad, but still not enough. So to recap, this article from Khan might have already mentioned what the Wings might do with Helm, but they also might let Fillpula walk, like I mentioned before, this offseason prior to or come the free agency span starting in July, probably on the 1st, like usual or every year. General Manager Steve Yzerman has continued to shed the unnecessary long-term contracts that Ken Holland signed a few years back. So, Louis, I'll let you have your say on this one. Go ahead.
Well, in the words that you use, the Red Wings still like to be like the ultimate dumpster fire in the National Hockey League. I mean, you were mentioning about your last player. That was in 2008 when they won their last Stanley Cup, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that final game, and that was a nail biter. That was why I was watching that.
That was in Pittsburgh at what used to be Mellon Arena.
Yes, I remember that game. That was a nail biter. But since then, they haven't played like the champs they used to be. Well, ever since they lost in 2009, when they played at Pittsburgh in the rematch, and they got the best of them. And what have they done since then? Absolutely nothing. They have been in a downward spiral ever since. And with this lineup and these changes, I don't see much improvement at all. I would like to see something happen before I die. But the way it looks right now, Detroit is a long way from its glory years, and they just seem to get worse every year. I mean, even with this short season, they couldn't do anything. It's been
since 2009 when they lost that Game 7 of the Cup final 2-1. And it was a devastating blow, but there also came a time where Mike Ilitch offered Steve Yzerman the general manager position, and Ken Holland, who used to be the general manager, team president, but Ken Holland told Mike Ilitch no. Holland wants to stay, and that made Steve Yzerman want to walk away from Detroit and sign with the Tampa Bay Lightning as a general manager for 10 years before coming back to Detroit in 2019.
Yeah, big loss when Yzerman left.
When Chris Ilitch fired Ken Holland. Oof. Because Chris Ilitch knows that this is not the team that Chris Ilitch wants to see. No. I know Chris Ilitch is a terrible sports owner with the Red Wings and Tigers, but even he knew that was a no-brainer.
I think we can all say that was a no-brainer. But with Yzerman's absence, that really sent the team to a new level. And having a loss like that in Game 7, 2009, that really just took the momentum right out of it. And if that would have been one more second on that clock, they would have tied that game up. We would have had overtime. But it was just a little bit too wide right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From what I recall.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going back to the 2008 Game 6 again?
2009 Game 7 when they
2009. Oh yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury made a diving save actually.
Yeah.
It was on net, but Fleury made a diving save.
Yeah, but it was that close. I'm like, oh, just
they should not have fell behind 2-0.
No.
No. So they might they might swap Helm for Giovanni Smith. But either that or they might let him walk as well. But they're more possibly gonna let Valterri Fillpula walk. So with that being said, one more topic. The Michigan football Wolverines have recruited 2002 four-star quarterback Jayden Denegal. Yeah, they got a new quarterback since Shea Patterson is gone. Come to think of it,
good.
So if you think about it easily, the Wolverines filled a need as a position player at quarterback. So Jayden Denegal might either start or become a backup, one of the two. Anything to add?
Well, I think maybe probably. Well, if he gets a backup, who would be the starter though? Since your previous quarterback has now disappeared, so who would they try to look for to get as a regular starter?
Right. Who knows?
Yeah,
they might start Denegal.
Well, maybe that means it's a bad move because you're gonna need a good quarterback, especially in that conference, which is the biggest conference I think in college football. And last year Michigan was pathetic.
Yeah, 2-5, 2-4
in the conference. Yeah, it was. That was on the Michigan Wolverines that I know. I mean, Michigan State, your rivals did a little bit better than that. Oops, sorry about that. But I was very disappointed in the Wolverines this year, and I don't want to see a repeat of like another woeful, especially in the conference. I mean, they need a good quarterback. They need good offense. And last year, they had nothing.
Going back to the Red Wings, they fired assistant coach Dan Bilesma because their power play struggled, and then we got the Michigan Wolverines football team firing defensive coordinator Don Brown, leaving Jim Harbaugh in a much better position, kind of like head coach Jeff Blashill of the Red Wings. So Jeff Blashill, going back to him, he was hired first by Ken Holland in the 2015 offseason as a head coach, putting Blashill in a very deep muck with those long-term contract players such as Helm, Erickson, Cronwall, DeKaiser, Nielsen, and others. Let's see here. But Steve Yzerman, 4 years later, came to Detroit, took over. And like I mentioned before, in one of our recaps, he's continuing to shed the unnecessary long-term contracts that Ken Holland signed a few years back. DeKaiser's still here, but Jonathan Erickson, Jimmy Howard, both gone. Justin Abdelkader bought out and gone. So, Mike Green, Holland signed him, 3-year deal. Expired, Green gone. Green is gone. Madison Bowie, a defenseman, didn't last too long. He gone. Ken Holland signed him before just at the last trade deadline before Yzerman took over. Madison Bowie. So you get the point.
Bad to worse.
Yeah. I think have a new defensive coordinator already. I forgot his name, but anyway, that's all I have. So, Louis, I want to thank you for joining me as a special guest along with Vasu Vatapari. But before we go, we want to remind everyone that this show is sponsored by the Viget Sports mobile app where great fans cover. Sign up with the referral code STABLES, available on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Download the Viget app and sign up with the referral code STABLES for 1,000 free Vig coins. Visit Viget is where great fans cover. That concludes another fine episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Stables Media. I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DT2Phillips and add me on Facebook as Taylor Phillips and like my personal or public figure page on Facebook, Taylor Phillips Sports On Air Talent. So on behalf of Ed Smith, Frank Vazner, and Darren Weiss, hopefully I'll have them tomorrow night at 7 or something like that. This is Taylor Phillips signing off. Thanks very much for listening, downloading, and sharing. And remember, the truth is out there. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Power to the people. Hit them with a high, and we rest our case. Stay safe.
Good night, folks.